shit, where's the article? Yeah, we're just going to tear into this today. Just the absolute psychopathy of it. Let's go ahead and give Steve first blood this morning. All right. All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
How we doing?
Wyatt, I'm rolling.
Indeed. So
No, not really. I'm sober and don't have tuberculosis.
that's probably safe. Stryker says odd. I don't know what you're referring to unless you're talking about what Steve was saying about True Social. We're not going to talk about the Twitter stuff this morning so much because we talked about it yesterday, and I don't want to cover the same thing 2 days in a row. Stryker, that might be because I was running a little behind this morning. I committed an error yesterday in one of my one of the photo shoots I did, and I had to scramble to fix that this morning. So I was running a little behind getting the show scheduled and set up and everything. But all the stuff about Elon buying Twitter and CNN Plus going under, there's some other news around all that I want to talk about, but I'm intentionally putting that off tomorrow for a couple of reasons. One, I'm waiting on some developments on one of those stories before I dig into it too hard, and two, I hate to talk about the same topic 2 days in a row. We've done it, and we'll do it again in the future, depending on how serious the topic is, but I hate to do the same thing 2 days in a row. So we're going to take a break from Twitter for a minute, and this morning we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, titties.
Okay, that is not... Also one of my favorite subjects, but not the direction that I thought you were going to take.
Oh, that's got to be the direction this goes.
To be fair, though...
Boobs are among the most important things on the planet.
Oh, I mean, I'm not arguing. But to be fair, though, there's not much more that's going to develop with CNN Plus.
Damn it, son, I'm trying to drink coffee. Oh, hey, we've got Handicap Parking Patrol just joined us. I'll take a minute to say good morning to some people, but Handicap Parking Patrol, I don't believe I've seen you in our comments section before, so welcome to the channel. I hope you'll subscribe and follow us on all the goodies. I'm going to have to go check you out. I'm guessing that Handicap Parking Patrol, especially based on your photograph of what appears to be a police car in a handicapped parking space, I'm betting you're doing something that's not exactly a First Amendment audit, but kind of in that sphere of content type. So I'll definitely go check you out for that. But we've got, of course, Rodemeyer drew first blood this morning, and I see Scrimshaw Rose. Good morning, sunshine. Dan, there's a debate between, I forget the other guy's name, and Sharia Ivy on Saturday at 1600 at our usual spot. Well, at our it's so the Rockdale County GOP is hosting that debate. These two are going to be running to take Hank Johnson's spot, so that we can be represented by somebody who understands that islands don't tip over. At least
Hank
not
Johnson
randomly.
retiring?
I think so, yeah.
Oh.
But they were going to run they had already announced to run against him before he announced that he was retiring, but I'm pretty sure he is in fact retiring.
Okay.
And of course, Danny, it's good to see you this morning. And did I get everybody? Oh, thanks, Dan. It's Jonathan Garcia. So that should be interesting, and I will be there with a camera, and it will be my last day of 40. Because Sunday's the 1st.
I understand.
Yay!
Well,
And the silent farts have found their way into the comment section, and we appreciate your presence as well, Sunshine.
yeah, early welcome to your 5th decade of life.
Hallelujah. I made it. I woke up on the right side of the dirt. That's always a point in the win column for me.
Yeah, woke up. All right, so this
Yeah, because I don't want to wake up on the wrong side of the dirt. They've made TV shows about that. That shit is terrifying.
yeah, that's the thing. Boy, I just blanked on
Better
his
leave me a straw.
Boy, I can't believe I blanked on his name. The oh god, the Cask of Amontillado and the Mask of the Red Death and
Edgar Allan Poe.
thank you. God, it just went whoop. It did that thing.
Hop Frog.
I guess no, that was his big fear. Like
Yeah.
that was his.
Oh yeah.
So he drank himself to death instead. Like there was no question when he was
That
dead.
seems perfectly logical.
Okay, all right.
So, we've got this article.
This is
This
not
art-
the B.
This article was brought to my attention by the infamous Thread. And as per usual, what you will see from the infamous Thread is actually nothing. In fact, let me go ahead and very carefully move it to a different monitor before I run the risk of accidentally exposing it to the rest of you. Excuse me. But I will share a little bit of insight from some of the comments in the infamous Thread. I'll just read them to you. But we're gonna look at this article, and
Let's do it. Come on.
possibly the most intelligent thing ever said aloud by Milo Yiannopoulos. He walked up to the podium. He had his little iPad Mini, and he made a big show of, oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm so proud to be so proud and happy to be speaking at this event. I've prepared a few notes, and he pulls up and he scrolls as if he's trying to refresh himself, and then he holds the iPad up and he says, Feminism is cancer. Thank you. And walks off the stage. One of the best trolls. Just, it was perfect. So speaking of, this guy, we have a problem here, apparently.
It's probably because you moved the thing.
Nope. I see what has occurred. This is an error I can correct. But I have to correct it from this scene. So, no problem.
Well, there you go. Live is hard mode.
Live is hard mode.
Well, I wanted my son to reject masculine stereotypes. Then he fell in love with tractors. All my life, I've prided myself on blurring gender lines, but when my young son started to gravitate toward the very things I'd shunned, I wasn't sure what to do. You know, I wouldn't know what to do if my 2-year-old son had a bigger penis than me either. I would be confused. And also in the picture, what are the things that look a lot like giant cigarettes?
I think they're supposed to be crayons. Or lipstick. Or both.
Who knows?
I mean, you could write a ransom note with crayons or lipstick.
Right?
Which is precisely the kind of thing that groomers are into. Because that's what this guy is. He's a groomer.
Well, he's not necessarily a groomer. He could just be a freaking moron that, honest to God, believes that it's like, oh, the gender neutral, and there's I have to. If we don't do those things to our children, they'll grow into the people they're supposed to be, and don't do it. Let's go through the article and see if he's a groomer before you make the assertion.
No, that is a groomer.
No, a groomer is somebody that's trying to groom you for sexual behavior. Somebody
Yes.
that's. Let's go through the article, okay?
Like installing a gender ideology or a sexual orientation.
Or he could just be a moron who believes that raising his child gender neutral is actually the thing to do. My ex-wife had a friend that sincerely believed gender neutral was the way to go, and them kids were weird, but I don't think they were being diddled. It was just a weird ass family.
No, but they were being converted and groomed into a sexual lifestyle, into a specific sexual orientation. They were being actively led into a level of sexual degeneracy. That's grooming. That's so. I'm glad we're having this argument, because that's a big part of the issue with the whole thing with the Florida law and Disney, and all that. These people are absolutely grooming children, even if they are not themselves diddling the kiddies. What they are doing is they're teaching children that promiscuity is a good thing, is morally good. They're teaching children, before they have even reached puberty, that sex is something to be desired, and that it should be explored in ever more depraved and degenerate formats. They're teaching children to reject their physiology and genetic makeup. They're teaching these children that to fit in with their peer groups, they need to mutilate their own bodies and engage in active sexuality. They're teaching these children that they should reject. They're not just teaching them that there are alternatives to natural heterosexuality and intelligent monogamy, but that those alternatives are preferable to normal, healthy sex. And they're teaching it to these children before they should even be aware of or contemplating even normal, healthy sex. They're groomers. This guy is 100% grooming his child into a sexual depravity and perversion.
I mean, you can say all those words, but that doesn't make them true.
Yes,
just
it does.
because no, it doesn't. Just because you say that, I can say a whole bunch of words that wouldn't make it true. Just because somebody is raising their child to be gender neutral, all the things that you said can potentially be true, but that doesn't automatically make them true. I mean, okay, I don't want my kid to play with boys' toys is not the same thing as I want my kid to chop his penis off. Those are not the same thing. They might be related, and they might run in the same circles and have a hell of a lot of overlap in those Venn diagrams, but they're not the same thing.
You know, early on in the argument, I also said I don't care what other consenting adults do in the privacy of their own bedrooms, and the law should not be involved there. And that's how we got to, if you don't let me fuck your kids, you're a bigot. Because we constantly gave ground and tolerated the psychopathy and the grooming. And it must end. There must be an end to the giving of grounds.
Look, if you want to end giving grounds, call a spade, but if you say this is grooming, as soon as somebody points to a case where they can say this is not grooming, you've weakened your own argument. If you want to say that this is bullshit, and you want to say that this guy's psychotic, and you want to say that him having a problem with his son wanting to play with tractors says a whole hell of a lot more about what's wrong with the dad than what's wrong with the kid, all of those are fair points and should be discussed, and I even concede that it is in the same sphere as the over-sexualization of children. But to automatically say, okay, you raise your child gender neutral, you're grooming your child, those are not the same thing. They're not. And to say that somehow we're giving ground by conceding a factual point,
I'm not conceding a factual point. You're arguing against a factual point. This man is actively grooming his child.
No, this man is actively raising his child gender neutral. It doesn't mean that he's trying to turn him into a sexual deviant. They're not the same thing.
Yes, they are.
I mean, again, you can say that they are, but they're actually not. Being androgynous and being hypersexualized are two different. They're two different words because they're two different concepts.
You're correct. Those are two different concepts. Androgyny in this context is a purely cosmetic appearance. We're talking about this father is actively shaping the behaviors of his child to be contrary to the natural preferences of the child. We know that from the headline alone.
Just because he's changed.
Now, I know as the article goes forward, Daddy comes around a bit. Spoiler alert. Sorry, guys. But he began with, my intent was to reject masculine stereotypes for my son. My intent was to take my son and make him not a son. That's where this guy started. He started with, my intent was to groom this child.
No. Look, you've got me until you say groom has a specific context.
Yes, it does, and this is it.
No, it's not. You can think that this is wrong. I would agree that this is wrong. This is fucked up. This is how you confuse the shit out of a kid, but it's not automatically grooming.
Okay. This is grooming. Stay with me for a minute. The argument you're making is the same as saying that the model agents that lure the young girls, and we're not even talking about pedophilia and Epstein type of stuff at this point. We're talking about girls that are just recent high school graduates, college freshmen, 18, 19, 20, and they go into college in a big city or what have you, and they meet the model agent that says, I'm going to take you to a party and you're going to meet a lot of people. And the steps go from there. And stop.
Okay.
Let me finish my statement before you interrupt. The steps lead from there to you're sold into sex slavery. What you're arguing is that the invitation to the party is not a part of the process.
Okay. No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. That would be an absolutely retarded thing to argue. That's why I'm not arguing that. Well, that's why you've got to take my point and you've got to recontextualize it into something that makes a stronger point for you.
I don't.
You can't. No, you had to give an example that's completely unrelated, and here's where I can shoot a hole in that.
It's not completely unrelated.
No, if you let me finish, okay, here's how I can shoot a hole in that. The point of inviting the girl to the party is so that you can sexually abuse her.
Correct.
The point of inviting the girl to that party... Well, let me find out. That's right.
The point to inviting the girl to the party is not so that you can sexually abuse her. It is so that you can prepare her to be sexually abused by somebody else.
Okay. All right. So you invite the girl to the party with the explicit purpose of sexually abusing her.
That's correct.
All right. You can raise a gender neutral
of having somebody else sexually abuse her.
All right. Can I finish?
Yes, but not when you're changing what I've said.
So you can change what I said.
I didn't.
You did. You took All right. Anyhow. Okay, fine. This is grooming. That's
my point is that when you take absolute steps, your intent going forward is to actively alter the natural sexual preferences, predilections, or appearances of a child. That the point to doing that is to groom them into the lifestyle of that sexual deviancy. What you are arguing is that's not the case.
No, what I'm arguing... Whatever. I've said point blank what I'm arguing, but you can take it and you can recontextualize it.
No,
that's the only way
what
you
you're
win the
arguing
argument.
is that what I'm saying is false.
Yes, what you're saying is false. This is not automatically grooming. And you're saying this is automatically grooming. And I'm saying that it's not. I'm saying it's bad enough without assigning all this extra evil shit to it.
Okay. Okay. I'll sit here and shut up while you make the case that actively teaching a child to engage in sexual deviancy is not grooming a child for sexual
That's
deviancy.
easy. He's not actively teaching this child to engage in sexual deviancy. Teaching your child, I don't want you to play with boy toys, is not the same thing as teaching your child, I want them to play with dildos. When you bring up the context of taking the girl to the party so that she can get sold into sex slavery, the only reason you're bringing the girl to the party is so that you can sell her into sex slavery. There is an entire world of possibilities, misguided and wrong, but there is an entire world of possibilities where people legitimately believe raising a gender-neutral child, irregardless of the sexual behavior. We're still friends, y'all. We can make fun of each other. We're gonna cut up after this when the show's over.
He said that word.
Yes, irregardless
God
of the fact
damn
that I
it!
said the word. Anyhow, but you take the girl to the party explicitly so that you can sexually abuse her. You can raise a gender-neutral child, and sex doesn't even factor into the equation. You might be wrong, but your intent with your example in the girl in the party from the word jump was to sexually abuse her. This dad's intent, misguided, was to raise a son that didn't fall into what he perceived as negative male stereotypes. That's not the same thing as sexualizing them.
In what way does altering that, does going out of your way to feminize your child, not have an effect on the future of their sexuality?
It doesn't even say that he was trying to feminize them. It says that he was trying to...
It says reject male stereotypes.
It doesn't
By
automatically...
definition, that's feminizing.
No, by definition, that means you reject masculinity. It doesn't mean that you embrace femininity.
Okay, if rejecting masculinity does not mean feminization, what is the third gender that we're moving them toward?
A whole bunch of languages have the gender-neutral pronouns and all of that. So
And none of them have a gender-neutral pronoun that is used to refer to a human being. Non-gendered pronouns in foreign languages refer to objects.
Okay, Steve asks, and
that's a great question, Steve. I saw that, and I do want to address it. No, every little boy that wears his mother's shoes does not grow up to be a homosexual. But I would pose this question in response, Steve. Does every little boy who wears his mother's shoes choose to do it, or is he forced to do it? Because there are many little boys that put on mommy's shoes just at random. But we're talking about somebody who is actively taking an interest in preventing the child from being exposed to certain things and then intentionally exposing them to other things. So there's a big difference between a child choosing to reject masculinity and growing up to be homosexual of some sort, right? And the child being pushed into it, right? Now, and we've been a little hard on this guy to begin with. And he deserves somebody to treat him roughly because he needs it. No, he doesn't deserve it. He's not good enough, but he needs it. So, after turning 2 years old, my son, Avishai, started demanding that he only wear tractor shirts, and my mind spiraled into darkness. Yeah, you just quit the human condition, you sick suck. I catastrophized worst case scenarios, imagining a world where he fell for everything stereotypically manly. Oh no! He might grow up to be a successful, productive human.
I love the next sentence. I envisioned him on a football field barreling through mega muscled opponents.
Yeah,
brother,
let's
tell
just...
us about your wet dreams.
Yeah, my dude, that was never going to be a problem for you. I promise you this. With your pink translucent glasses and your sideways hat. I have always judged other guys who seemed boxed in by masculinity. But 3.5 years ago, when I became a stay-at-home dad, my bias skyrocketed.
Stop banging the table.
Oh, sorry. So, 3 years ago, when I became a stay-at-home dad. You mean when you personally eschewed your individual responsibilities? And I know we. Oh man, it's all. Wow.
Yeah, look, you gotta get.
We've gotten late.
You gotta stop after every sentence to get through more of the article.
Yeah, let's
or
go.
Stop stopping after every sentence.
Right. My son was born in Albany, New York, on the bedroom floor of the apartment I shared with my wife. Minutes after his arrival, we took turns cuddling him against our bare chests, while the midwife and her assistant cleaned up. My wife, always one to joke, even soon after giving birth, bragged that she had a connection to our new baby that I could never attain because men couldn't bond with babies like women could. I don't understand how that was a joke. But that might be because you're a leftist. So, to me, femininity was connected to empathy and kindness, while masculinity equated to being frigid. Oh.
Well, it's because he doesn't understand how stoicism works, but...
Right. So, yeah. I think Alex hits the nail on the head. Dude is a closet alphabet person. This is one of those guys that can explain to you. No, I identify as queer. Well, no, I'm only attracted to women. I've only ever had sex with women, and I'm definitely a man. But I'm queer because I'm supposed to be, right?
Well, look, and as he goes on, so to me, femininity was connected to empathy and kindness, while masculinity equated to being frigid. Men didn't hug. Men didn't say, I love you. Men were angry, aggressive, inept as parents. I became determined. I was going to create a bond stronger than any parent had ever achieved, but I told myself to do as I needed to do, so I needed to distance myself from anything deemed masculine.
Okay.
Here's the thing, though. All that, like, when they talk about toxic masculinity, it's the straw man about being a man that they've set up, that they're knocking down.
It's Homer Simpson. It's Peter Griffin. It's here's the cartoon of the American dream, and that includes Daddy is always a fat, stupid, white guy with a shitty job
who's emotionally insensitive.
Yes. Because he's incompetent. He's a drunkard. He's emotionally insensitive.
And how does somebody that
he's fat, dumb, and drunk?
How does somebody that constantly loses their job afford all that beer anyway?
I know.
I
know. It's like, guys, we don't stay comfortably middle class by losing our jobs repeatedly. That's so. I can make some assumptions here. I suspect that he'll mention something about how his father was never around, and we won't be surprised. I immediately cut my hours at my social work gig.
Taking on the role of caregiving full time. It made sense because my wife made more money and I was accustomed to being around kids. It was what I did for a living. Every day I fed Avishai and cuddled him and soothed him. We co-slept, and he snoozed with his head resting on my chest, listening to the rhythm of my heartbeat. There's a whole lot of dads that have done this exact thing. I'm pretty confident in saying all 4 of my children have had daddy naps, which is when they use daddy like a gym.
Oh, yeah.
And then fall asleep in some position. And then you're like on the couch and you're like, oh, I could stay like this for another 20 minutes at least and let them get this nap out.
And, I've known people who could sit down with their kid and rock their kid to sleep. I've never been able, and then set them down and go do stuff while the kid nap. I've never been able to do that. All 4 of my kids have been 9 times out of 10. Once they fall asleep, I'm stuck. If I try to get up and set them down, they wake up and then they've had not enough nap. And they're pissed off about it. So yeah, the whole co-sleep thing. Yes, when I pick up a kid for the kid to take a nap, I am also going to take a nap. That's how that math works. It's almost completely infallible. Uh, we are about to have run over. I would have liked to have spent more time with this, but I want to get back down to here. I paraded him through the park while he rolled his baby doll down the sidewalk in its stroller, Dietrich writes. So, here's an example of what I was talking about. Did the kid go buy a baby doll in a stroller?
Alex gets top comment.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyhow.
So right, yeah. This is what I was talking about earlier when I was making the case for this being grooming. He's going out of his way to train the child instead of letting the child have opinions and preferences and choices. Now, these are the same people that say, well, we're not going to say, the same kind of people. Obviously, he hasn't actually done it here. But it's the same kind of ideology where, oh, well, we're not going to announce the gender until the child's old enough to make that choice for themselves. No, but you're going to buy your little boy dolls and not buy him soldier toys, right? You know, it'd be a little different if perhaps there were both kinds of toys. Okay, that then you might have an argument. But it sounds to me like, you know, when the kid started saying what he wanted was not the baby doll and stroller that you tried to force on him. So again, I say, this is grooming.
Baby doll and stroller, you're going to have to go further than that to be grooming. I know plenty of little boys that have chosen to play with baby dolls and strollers. Like, that's
and where'd they get them?
From the local daycare, from their parents, borrowing them from other kids. There's many places. But that doesn't mean that they're being groomed. It just means they played with a baby doll. Babies are one of those universal human experience things. Like, even small children are aware of the fact that babies come from someplace.
Yes.
And that they're very important.
And given the option, some boys will choose to also play with Barbie dolls and the like. But here we got this kid pushing the stroller. And the dad begins with, I wanted my son to reject masculine stereotypes. While there are other people that may not be doing the same thing, this guy has said clearly that that's exactly what he was doing.
Doesn't mean that he wants him to be a sexual deviant. That is not the same thing. They're related. There's a lot of overlap in the Venn diagram, but they're not the same thing. One does not automatically equate the other. You can have a peanut butter only sandwich. You can have a jelly only sandwich. It almost doesn't happen, but the peanut butter and jelly are still two separate things. Yes, I made a food analogy. I was trying to keep it very simple.
Yeah, but you told me that my analogy was off the mark and unrelated earlier.
Well, your analogy was off the mark.
That's a reach.
Well, your analogy was off the mark because the only reason why you take the girl to the party is to try and have sex with her. Oh, Steve's like, get to the end of the article.
Okay. So, part of the horror of this is this guy got paid to write this article. But he does eventually get himself together a little bit. I had difficulty understanding my son's interest in tractors, and at first, I tried to nudge Avishai toward different videos and clothing. Again, grooming. But then I remembered how hard it was for my father to trust me to follow my passions, and the way we connected after he finally did. I took on being an at-home father because I wanted to bond with my son, and I realized that meant I needed to let him discover his own interests. He had to define his own identity, not influenced by my own bias of what I deemed to be too masculine. I started taking joy in his joy. He radiates wearing his shirts emblazoned with diggers and dozers and excavators. 3.5 years old, he can name dozens of types of tractors. I always thought there was only one. Wow, you have never earned a dollar.
There can be
You've never
only
worked.
one.
He makes up quasi-gibberish tractor stories, sings quasi-gibberish tractor songs. Together we clean the living room. He uses his tractors to put all his toys away. Sometimes my dad comes over and we drive tiny plastic machinery from room to room. My son beams, my dad beams, I beam too. But right here, where was it? Yeah, right there. I tried to nudge Avishai toward different videos and clothing. This is grooming. I tried to nudge him away from the things he wanted
It doesn't mean he nudged him towards
into
sexual
the things
activity.
that I wanted him to do. Of course it does. It's about I mean, the guy's talking about gender identity. This has only to do
The guy's
with his
talking about
eventual
what he
sexuality.
perceives as toxic masculinity. It doesn't mean he's talking about gender identity, and it certainly doesn't mean he's talking about sexuality.
Okay, for one, this guy never said toxic masculinity. So the thing, and Alex, that's a fair question. Is it grooming or indoctrination?
It does not say
If
I
you
nudged
wanna
him
make-
toward Biden's nose.
If you want to make the distinction between grooming and indoctrination, which is fair, which is absolutely fair, then maybe with grooming you say that that would be the person that intends to do the diddling. But this just like all the stuff that's going on in the schools where they're trying to talk these kids into chopping off their tender bits. That right there is incredible. That's an incredibly damning statement. I tried to nudge Avishai toward different videos and clothing. This guy never used the word toxic masculinity in the article. And the reason that's important is what he's talking about, what he's perceiving, is not some type of masculinity that's extra masculine or overly stereotyped. He's talking about baseline masculinity.
No,
His position.
He's talking
guys
about the
like-
perception of
guys like this-
toxicity.
No.
It was in the beginning of the article. We even made the point that
Stop.
what he perceived
Stop.
as male.
Stop. Listen to me. We several years ago we started hearing this phrase toxic masculinity. Mm-hmm. Right? What this guy's talking about, the perception piece that you're talking about, is that drift where we started off with the lefty radicals talking about there being this thing that they refer to as toxic masculinity, which is a subdivision of masculinity that is way far off the spectrum of all the worst things that a man can be. And that has gone adrift. What this guy is talking about is not that definition of toxic masculinity. It's the place that we've come to with the slow drift to where masculinity, just having a penis, is the same as what they used to call toxic masculinity 10 years ago.
Well, but he uses the language that is the language that the left uses when they say toxic masculinity.
Yes.
Men didn't hug. Men didn't say I love you. Men were angry, aggressive. If you ask any leftist what is toxic masculinity, they're going to give you some version of those sentences
and
right
he says,
there.
distance myself from anything deemed masculine, which he has made clear includes working or wearing shirts.
Only ones with tractors on them.
Like, the things that this guy deems masculine and therefore offensive are things like earning money, raising children.
No, he's
taking care
raising
of
the
your-
child.
No, he's not. He's
thinks he
babysitting
is.
for his wife.
Well, he thinks he's raising the child. It's still, look, it's still not the same thing as grooming. It's related, but it's not the same thing. Just because he is a total beta male doesn't mean that he wants his child to be a sexual deviant.
Alex says he's like a more effeminate Sean King.
Yeah, but I bet
call
this
him
guy's
Bet
still
Heat
on Twitter. But I bet this guy's still on Twitter.
That might actually be worth chasing down. Okay, we are
Thurgood Marshall?
We are good in overtime. and I do have some hits that I need to make this morning. So, guys, it's been a pleasure. Lively conversation this morning. I enjoy that. And y'all be safe, and we will see you tomorrow.